Good evening, good evening, good evening. How you guys doing out there? We live tonight in the Spotlight Live with your host, Mike Melton. And we have a very, very special guest tonight. I want to introduce you guys. Some of you already know him. My guy, Rodney Wescott. How you doing, Rod?
What's up, man? How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure. Especially, we spent so much time in our history together when I first started off. It's refreshing to see you again.
Yeah, no doubt, brother, man. It's good to have you on, Rod, man. And we're going to take a trip down memory lane with some basketball, and then we're going to talk about some amazing things that you have going on right now, and such an incredible story of endurance that you went through. And we're going to get at it. But like most shows where we start off on In the Spotlight Live, we always do a tribute to somebody that was very influential in the basketball world. You know what I'm saying? And since I'm interviewing somebody from the Philly area, I decided to go with a real good guy from that area. So tonight, this show is dedicated to none other than my guy, Norm Everson. Scout Norm Everson, man. Norm was born September 26, 1947, and left us November 14th, 2021. Norm had a special love for basketball, led to working as a scout for Bob Gibbons' All-Star Sports Report, a basketball scouting service. Norm was a certified NCAA talent evaluator. He started his own basketball service, Middle Atlantic Recruiting Services, after retiring from teaching. His clients included 65 Division I schools. Norm could be found at many high school games and tournaments, sitting in his blue chair, a retirement gift from his colleagues at Kenneth Square School. He was a highly respected high school basketball talent advisor for many colleges. Norm was a reliable source for the Philadelphia Inquirer and Washington Post reporters. Man, Norm was great to everybody. This guy right here, man, I'm going to tell you this. When I first got into doing basketball media with Metro Hoops, when I was working for Metro Hoops, back then it wasn't that many African American guys in the media part of it. So it was a little awkward when I first used to go over to the media section and sit down and try to find my spot where I could watch the games. And a couple of guys did act a little cold, but Norm extended the hand out, bro. He always made me feel welcome. He had his chair during the AAU season and during the high school season with being in the media. And he always had his sandwich that his wife used to make him to take to the game. But when you talk about knowledge of the players, this guy had it. He was the first one to sit down and really teach me about how to do a high school report on the ones that you sent to the colleges. Because I used to see them, but I didn't know how he actually orchestrated it. And he took the time one day to show me what his ranking system was and how he ranked the players before he sent them out to the colleges. And bro, it was never a time where he just always had kind words from me, man. You got some experience with Norm, Rod?
Yes, I do. Norm actually was the first person that kind of let me know I had good players. Because I really didn't deal with the younger players at that time. But I had a team in Conshohocken. And he saw the lineup and saw the team. They were running layups, and he says, yo, you have a really good team here. He says, I'm gonna suggest from the point. He said, I'm gonna suggest you go to Bob Gibbons. You know what I mean? And I didn't realize how good the dudes were. Because at that time I didn't follow a whole lot of high school basketball, especially like middle school basketball and stuff. But Norm kind of told me, yo, you got some real, because he was telling me, you better watch out for these guys in the area.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah, man. He was just like a breath of fresh air every time I saw him, man. And when he died, and I was during the pandemic type situation, which we definitely gonna touch on that too, man. It hit me though, because I missed him going out to the circuit. Even when I left and started doing middle school, he always used to say, like, bro, we miss you in the high school, but you down there with the little babies, man. Mm-hmm. So Norm, man, this podcast, this episode is dedicated to you, brother, man. Rest in peace, man. Norm Evanson.
Yes, sir.
All right, Rod, let's get at it, brother.
Let's go.
All right, so take me from Philly, your playing days, growing up, you playing and things of that nature.
Well, I started off in, of course, the Sunny Hill League.
Okay.
Just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. I like to tell the story that the first Sunny Hill League practice that I actually showed up for, it was 100 people trying out. Now, back then, it would be one team in each area. So all the top players in the area would come and try to get on this one team. So I looked at the guys. I says, I don't have the talent that these guys have, but I had two aces in the hole. My two best friends were on the team. Bruiser Flint, from Kentucky, and Henry Smith. He played for St. Joe's. So I used them as leverage to get me on the team. And that was pretty much the start of my my career. I went along to West Philadelphia High School.
Okay.
Which actually, first I started off at Bartram, but I transferred to West Philadelphia High School. Just wanted to play. I just wanted to be a speed boy because that was a big thing in Philly back then, you know. And I wanted to play under the legendary Joey Goldenberg. And that was one of the first teams that was like sponsored by Nike. We went to Vegas and, you know, traveling all around. So that was kind of like the AAU world is. And I had a little touch of it. Plus, our coach was like one of the top coaches in the country, which he taught me a lot of class, how to handle stuff in a certain way and be professional and stuff like that, which I took that with me everywhere I went.
Yeah, speaking of those early moments, I got a couple of joints I'm going to show you, and I want you to let me know. I usually do a top 5, but I added some special things because I saw some things that was interesting when I looked at your stuff. So here we go. Let's take a look at this joint first.
That was me and my man.
See, who is that, Rodney? Who is that?
That's Bruiser Flint.
Talk about that day. What was going on?
Man, I remember one thing. It was like 100 degrees. And he was actually doing an article for the Enquirer.
Wow.
And the guy said, listen, can y'all play one-on-one or something like that?
Wow.
So we're best of friends. So it became a war. We played like 5 games.
Wow.
You know, we almost started fighting after it.
Wow.
Because he wanted to play a rule where you can only take 3 dribbles to the basket. Okay. And, you know, I'm bigger than him, so I'm going to back him down. I was backing him down.
Okay.
So that was our issue. But, yeah, I remember that day clearly.
All right, man. Let's take a look at this joint right here. This squad.
Speed Boys.
Tell me about that team right there.
Yo, let me tell you. And I find out as I get older. First, I want to mention my main man. Anybody that knows me in basketball knows Henry Smith. Henry Smith kind of introduced me to the world. Henry Smith still today is the best middle school player I've ever seen. Ever. He used to dominate. His numbers were unbelievable. But we had a great team. Like I said, a great coach. We had Howard Evans on there, which was Temple's all-time great point guard. But I want to say, and I always tell people, the best person on our team was that big guy in the middle. That big guy was unbelievable. His name was Mark Anderson. Okay. He was Barkley, but a little bit bigger. Got into some issues, and that taught me it takes more than talent. You know what I mean? Because I remember, I tell people about this story. I was on the second team. So you know how the first team usually plays the second team. Mark was on the second team. We won every game, right? Against the first team. Now you got 3 Division I players on the first team. But we're killing that team. And I was like, that's when I looked at him. I said, yo, this dude is good.
Mm,
Good, man.
mm,
But he
mm,
never really panned out, you
mm,
know. But he was a great talent. He was a
mm,
pro. He was the first time I looked at, I said, yo, this guy's a pro.
mm. I
You
like
know.
that. I like that. Yeah, I just saw those pictures and it made me be like, yeah, I wanna pull these up. Now let's get into. So did you after high school? Did you go to college and play anywhere?
Yeah, I went to a Penn State branch campus. It's called the
Okay.
Abington campus now.
Okay.
I played with a great probably on here now. His name is Maurice Fly Williams, the highest
Mm.
jumping dude I've ever seen in my life. You
Wow.
know,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, he was. We had a really good team. I think we may have lost maybe two games the freshman year, or whatever. But that was that was a great experience. Also, had a
Hmm.
lot of fun with those guys.
So now you come around. How did you get into coaching youth basketball?
Bruiser's father was associated with the Sunny Hill League.
Okay.
He was like one of the advisors, whatever, the head honchos down the Sunny Hill League. So he asked me, him and John Hurnett. I don't know if you're familiar with John Hurnett.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows
Yeah. I
John
am.
Hurnett.
I am. I am.
They asked me to coach a college league team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was a couple of years into school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, college, these guys are real close to my age. So he said, yeah, just, they'll be all right. So he gave me that opportunity, and I met, and probably the most important person in terms of AAU and stuff like that was Aaron McKee.
Mm.
Aaron McKee was my first. We had to draft the players.
Mm-hmm.
Now I had two choices. I had a choice between Aaron McKee and oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. He went to St. Joe's. Then he's gonna kill me for me drawing a blank. Well, I picked Aaron McKee,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the smartest thing. Aaron McKee, he was like a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
And plus, he taught me what a pro looks like. You know what I mean? Like every day, he would work so hard, and it wasn't all about talent with him. He was a performer. He dribbled, he passed, he rebounded, he defended really well. So we won all the time. We won all the time, and that gave me confidence to deal with young guys.
Okay.
So we went like in about I coached about 6 years down there. I won a championship 4 years. We had Kareem Towns, which was probably the most talented guy that I've ever been around.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, Kareem, he was, and these was his best days.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
He was like, I used to call him cool running water. Yo, I would just look at him and be like, damn, this dude got it all. You know what I mean? We had we had another guy, he was underrated, but he actually got drafted, Sean Harvey, which was one of the best athletes I've ever been around, like a total athlete. We had Ryan Wilson and Farron Hand, which was very underrated guy. I mean, we had a crew, man. We had a crew. I would use these specializing guys that people didn't want to deal with, like maybe had attitude. Only one that didn't have those issues was Aaron. Aaron was a choir boy, but Aaron had respect from everybody. So if Aaron listened to me, everybody pretty much fell in line. So we were always successful.
Okay. Now we move into how did Philly Soul come together?
Well, the big guy in that picture, that West Philly picture, was Henry Smith. He was my best friend. He, myself, I have another friend, Walt Mitchell, and Bruiser. We were tight, always together. Well, in our 20s, Henry died. And Henry, we always talked about death, not thinking he was going to die, but we talked about, that was something that we normally talked about. So he had two sons, Henry Jr. And Montrell. So as they were coming up, I wanted to play a part in their lives. I basically started off, I just wanted to spend time with them. So they started playing it, and I saw how it was. People was tugging at them here. And I said, you know what? I'll make a team for you. So myself, and you remember George Harper?
Yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do. Yep.
Yeah, me and him were talking. We were down 61st Street, this league down in West Philly. And he was like, yo, we might as well go. And our first tournament was Alvin Williams tournament at Villanova. That was our first tournament. We didn't think it was going to be, what it became. But it did. You know what I mean? It did. So we moved on from there.
So how did you start adding the players to
well, let me fast forward to I stopped coaching in the Hill League because I started I don't know if you ever heard of the Dr. J League in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Probably the most exciting 3 years in Philadelphia history of basketball.
That was the league he made for his son when his son died, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the Corey Irvin League, right?
Yeah. So they asked me to run the league.
Yeah.
They asked me to run the league. So of course I had to get Littell.
My boy, I definitely got to get Tell on here. I got to get Tell on here, bro.
Yeah. So we started that league and it was an unbelievable success. And it was like a high wire act every Tuesday and Monday and Wednesday. You know what I mean? We had tremendous crowds every game. Never any problems down there. So it was a league that I was definitely proud of.
Yeah. So now you put the team together, and then y'all start going out making a little noise, playing in some regional tournaments. You had a couple of players that were notable when you was young. Give us a couple of those players, man.
Well, like I said, it all started at the Nationals. Like we were a team that was way down in rankings. And I like to say it was the weekend of Greg Robbins. Greg Robbins was introduced to the country. Yo, I'm gonna tell you, he carried us in a lot of situations. But we had big guys. Henry did really well. George did really well. Elijah. So we had a lot of big raw guys. And man, it was a hell of an experience. But like I said, it kind of taught me what was coming. Because now I had exposure to Nike. Somebody from Nike comes up and talks to me. Somebody from Reebok comes up and talks to me. You know what I mean? And that was a different experience for me because I really wasn't doing it for that. But it kind of it got so big with Greg that I was just thrust into that situation.
I remember I was there covering for Metro Hoops.
Right.
He was down there, and I was going to all y'all different games. I remember watching y'all guys in the region, but you had Nori in them, and I used to go around and check him out because he had his talent. He had that talent. But when I saw Robbins, I'm like, yo, I don't know. Who is this kid? So now I was one of the people that was following him like, yo, this young boy got some goods with him, man. He had the total package, man. He just sometimes we see it in college when that kid has that NCAA tournament run and then they just go to the league. He had the perfect weekend for the Nationals that it was like everything he did worked. He had the size, he had the measurables, he had the whole package that weekend. And that Nationals was packed. I think Marcus Cousins was down there, Derek Favors was down there, Peyton Silva, of course, Dexter Strickland, Durant Scott. That's when the Gauchos was good. Chick Webb, the team won it. They had a squad. Jordan's son. That's when I saw Jordan's son down there. Marcus, he was down there, and it was a good time then, man. Yeah, but now back to when your Nike and them came, man.
Well, I was having conversations with who was it? Vince Baldwin.
Yeah, I remember Vince being down there.
Person that I started talking to with Nike. But we were talking back and forth, and they were very interested in our situation. But if you remember, that was the same time that Tyreek Evans and them was on the map. So what he was talking about was getting us together. And at that point, I wasn't even looking, I'm looking at just spending time with my nephew, you know what I mean? Just having a platform for him. So I didn't understand fully exactly what that situation meant. You know what I mean? So I heard, I went to a couple of meetings and then I kind of just let it go, and then it came back to me through Rob Brown. And me and Rob, we used to talk every day on the phone, talking about the kids and all that stuff, because he understood the players that we had. Now, I like to include one of the sticklers for me not actually going with Rob team final was he didn't want Khalif Wyatt. And Khalif Wyatt was special to me. Now, Khalif ain't play a whole lot. I don't know if you noticed, if Khalif at that time used to just come in and finish games for me.
Yeah, he was chubbier
than nobody.
Yeah,
he could shoot. We would run this one play.
I remember. Yeah,
we would run one play, and Khalif would run that play and hit the three and create fouls. But he was telling me about the guys that he wanted on the team, and I was like, no, this ain't really about this. This is about all of them. You know what I mean? So then the rep from Kobe Bryant came to me. And like I said, I was at that event in Trenton, New Jersey.
Prime shootout.
Right.
Back when me and you used to talk every day.
Exactly. And me and Rob were actually supposed to meet and consummate exactly what we were supposed to do. And the guy called me and was like, hold on, because Kobe wants you to do something with him. Because we had did a camp with Kobe. And Khalif asked Kobe to sponsor us.
Wow. And
I didn't think anything of it. We just went through the motions. And they called. And they said, yeah, he wants to sponsor the team. So I was, it's Kobe or team final. At that time, it was a no-brainer.
I remember that time. And you had a lot of people hating, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, he ain't really sponsored by Kobe and man, you used to talk on the phone about it and stuff like that. We used to kick it back then. Now let's get into a couple of the players, like especially Nori, who was a super talent, you know what I'm saying, on the court, and went on to high school. I think he broke the Overbrook record or something like that, and the scoring and stuff. How was it coaching him, and some of the pluses and some of the challenges you had?
Well, I'll tell you a story about when we first met.
Okay.
A friend of mine that played, the one that got drafted, Sean Harvey, brought him to me. We had like a practice. And Nori comes in and, he's playing Nori, He's doing his old Nori thing. That wasn't really communicating with nobody. He wanted to do his own thing. So I took him out the game. Now I had some dudes on my team. So now I'm starting to understand that. But I took Nori out. Nori was about to leave. Sean grabbed him. I was like, let him leave. He said, no, let him play, Rod. And Amaro Austin was right by my side when he did this play. Somebody threw the ball over, and he did this move before he actually saw the guy, and went around him. I turned around to Amaro and said, did you see that? What he just did? And Amaro was like, yeah. I was like, it's only one person I've ever seen do something like that, and that was Kareem Towns. I said, this kid, this is the next Kareem Towns. And we went to a tournament that weekend. I'm talking about just one practice. First game, he had like 37. He was a walking bucket. Every time you turn around, he scores on taps, layups, whatever. I was like, oh my God, this kid, I don't believe I fell into this one. But he was an unbelievable talent, man.
Yeah, I know, man. I know.
And one of the things that people didn't really get, He's a really bright kid. Really.
Man, him had conversations.
Yo, if in a different situation, he could have been the president of Ivy League school, man. He had leadership qualities and all, but just something missed. You know what I mean? You know how we grow up. We grow up. Everybody, we grow up with some stuff with us. And but he was super talented, man.
I remember going over. They played Trenton, where I went to school at in the Christmas tournament, and they just so happened to play them one year, and I made sure I went there to see him, man. And he showed me mad love when I walked in. You know, remember we had him over for the shoot for the magazine. Like he was my guy, man. He just was a pure bucket getter. Now let's talk about. Did you know Khalif Wyatt was going to be that good?
Khalif Wyatt he's a funny situation because and actually he's a great story. Khalif Wyatt was at he's close to the end of the bench, and Khalif used to always threaten that he was going to leave, right? And I would say, Khalif, you ain't playing now, so you think I'm gonna miss you? You're not playing. But I had mad love for Khalif, because he reminded myself of myself in a lot of ways, because he was really immature back then. He was, he wasn't in shape. But myself and our coaches used to always talk about if he ever lost weight, it would be really good because he had the skill and he was another bucket getter. He understood how to actually score, like foul shots. I mean, that was part of his game. He posted up really well. I mean, he was really, really a real smart basketball player. And his body started cooperating with him. Now, instead of being 5'11", 5'10", overweight, now he's 6'4" and a little slimmer. So me and him always talk. I say, yo, out of all those guys that you wish you could have been, said you actually exceeded everybody on our team in terms of their college career.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? And that came from resilience and just keep working and looking towards the top and, chasing that carrot. That was him, man. And that's what, and I always say, that's what AAU was all about. Helping somebody reach heights that they didn't think that they could actually reach.
How hard was it with this group? Then we'll go on to the next group to keep the vultures away. And what kind of techniques did you have to use to keep those sneaker company teams from invading?
Well, and this was probably my downfall, I never really fought for kids. I figured, I was spending money for them. You know what I mean? And we actually have, like, I heard people talking about, oh, he wasn't sponsored, da-da-da. Every kid knows that they never paid a dime. And we stayed in the nicest place. You know what I mean? So those things were happening for them. But I felt as though they didn't really appreciate it. I'm not going to fight for them like that. I had kids. I got a beautiful wife home. I got a family that I need to be tripping over. You know what I mean? Not a kid that I'm doing, in some cases, more than their parents ever did. You know what I mean? And I wasn't getting the appreciation. And I had to remember, what was I doing it for? I'm doing it for Henry. On that particular team, it was all about him. So letting them go became easy. Because we had Dalton Pepper. Now, Dalton Pepper was probably the one that people went after more than anybody.
Definitely.
Yeah, but Dalton Pepper made a decision to come back and forth. You know what I mean? He made, because after a while, it is what it is. I mean, it's the ball bouncing. It depends on if you're having a good time or not. So he went to team final and came back. Because it was still a game with us. You know what I mean? It was still a game. It wasn't as much as a business. And I wanted to keep it there. But I saw that wasn't possible.
So then this team, This team goes, and then you pick up another squad, which includes Raheem Christmas. Now, this guy was supposed to be the one. How crazy did it get once you had him?
Well, it got crazy with Raheem in a different way. With people, of course, they were killing me. He's doing this, da 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 da. But like I said, when I talk to the adults in it, and if they don't have an appreciation for what's going on, well, just take them. You know what I mean? Because when we met, I remember the first time I saw Raheem Christmas play. He was playing with my nephew, Montrell. So he says, Montrell was like, listen, we got this new kid. He's like 6'8". But I mean, his stats were he was 3 times taller than anybody on the floor, right? And he had 2 rebounds, 1 point. And I told his aunt, I says, this kid could be a pro.
Wow.
And she's like looking at me like, are you crazy? Right? I says, no, you got to look beyond what you're seeing. I'm like, look at how he runs. Look at how he runs from basket to basket. I said, it's guys that make a lot of money that do that. Block his shots. He can block shots. He's athletic. You know. I says, this kid, all he got to do is learn how to make a jump shot. But what happened was, see, when the vultures come, you got all these specialty guys. I remember I had a conversation with his aunt, and she asked me what vision did I have for Raheem. So I said, and one of my biggest problems was I was always honest.
Yes, you was.
So I said to her, he's a Del Davis / Antonio, what you call him? The Davis boys, Antonio Davis. I says he could play in the league for 12 years. I says, I said he can make $100 million and play in the league for 12 years. But the other side was telling him he can be the next James Worthy. You know what I mean? I walked in one of their workouts, they taking it through the legs and all this other stuff. And I says, I can't compete with that.
Wow.
I said, because I see what he is. You know what I mean? I knew what his limitations were. And that's what it was. You know what I mean? That's what it was. And I told him, and that's not great in this day, and he left, which was well. But after he left, I had the greatest years of AAU basketball.
Yeah, we just get into that now. Then you jump down and how do you hook up with Curtis Malone in the DC area? How do you hook up with him?
Curtis, let me tell you, Curtis, one of the nicest dudes that I've ever met in the AAU business. You know what I mean? He was genuine. At that point, I couldn't give him anything. I just lost Raheem Christmas. The whole Kobe thing, fell apart. And I forgot how we got connected. A guy named Mike Anderson. He had called me. And he's not in basketball. He was actually in the amateur football, like pee-wee football. But he introduced me to Curtis. And I was telling Curtis about exactly what the situation was. He was like, yo, I'll help you out.
Wow.
Gave me sneaks, gave me uniforms, hooked me up with tournaments, stuff that he didn't never have to do. But he did it. And like I said, he was one of the best guys I've met in the whole AAU game. You know what I mean? He was a genuine dude that really cared. Not just the kids, but everybody around. He had love for. And I appreciated that, and I never forgot it.
Now, what was so special about that group?
They we just had fun, man. We just had fun. Aquil Younger, probably I start off with him. He ended up going to Drexel. Fireball. He was I don't even know what to say about him. You know what I mean? He was my right hand, always with me. I spent more time with him than I did anybody. It was always a situation that I was connected to him about. So he kind of started my team off. We had Kai, um, Kai Howard, Ashley's brother. We had Eddie Mitchell. He went to Ryder. Um, we had Xavier Harris. Um, who else we had? I might be forgetting. Of course, my nephew, Montrell Smith. And just a group of great kids, man. They worked hard and they wanted to win. And we overachieved almost every tournament. We went down to Bob Edmonds, made it to the finals. We took the number one team to the. If we had made the layup, the last shot, we had won that game, but we didn't make the layup. But we weren't even supposed to be in that game. They ended up having 3 pros on their team. You know what I mean? But this team actually gave it to me, and I actually had fun coaching them, just interacting with them, which was a great thing, especially in AAU. You go through so many different situations that's not fun, that to put as much as I put into it and get something in return was just gratifying for me.
It was good for you. It was good to see you go out on the basketball thing, having your fun and stuff. And then once you left the basketball thing, you moved to a different part of life. What did you get into? You started a business in logistics, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I started a logistics business. I kind of figured I was looking for stuff to do, and I kind of figured it was a gap in between, say, UPS, Federal Express, some of the bigger companies, and them getting people, just everyday people, getting products and a little bit more personal interaction with whatever company that they're dealing with. So I went to companies and I just sold my business to them. And like I got a contract with Samsung delivering TVs. Now that's big to me. That's huge to me. But to like a UPS, that's like, they don't have time for that. UPS, Federal Express, companies like that, they don't have time for it. So that actually fit for me, and I had a great time doing it. One of the best jobs I ever had.
So then around that time, everything's going on. The world gets hit with a catastrophe. You know what I'm saying? Called the pandemic. And then you wake up one day and then your life changed forever. Take us to that day and tell us what happened.
Well, I had a party. It was my birthday, November the 10th. My daughter wanted to give me a party. I kept telling her I didn't want a party. But when I came home, I actually worked that day. When I came home, I saw everything set up. I was having a party. The funny part about it was one of the best parties I've ever had in my life. People were pouring into me and, just giving their honest assessment of what we meant to each other. And I went away with it saying, I'm like, wow, this was a great thing to have. But it was a time when we were sitting down. It was a mask. It was 2 masks on my desk. And I picked up the mask. And I said, this mask don't feel like my usual mask. But I says, what's the chances? Put the mask on. And 2 days later, my daughter called me and said, Dad, I got COVID. So I never told her what I thought about the mask. So I went to my wife and said, I think I have COVID. And she was like, why you say that? I said, because I accidentally put on Asha, that's my daughter's name. I accidentally put on her mask. So wasn't worried at all. I actually worked up until I started coughing a little bit. So I said, let's just stay in the house. Because I figured my wife had it at that time. And let's just stay in the house and just be safe. I never was like in any distress or anything like that. And one day I developed a fever. So I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going to take a cold shower. And I took the cold shower. Next thing I know, I was in the hospital. And they were saying, well, listen, you're pretty bad off. And we need to get you some oxygen. We want to put you on a ventilator. I said, no ventilator. Because at that time, it was a 13% chance of survival on the ventilator. So I said, no, let's try something else. And we tried a couple of things. So like the 8th day, they were kind of letting me know how serious it was. Like, yo, because I'm seeing people dying. Wow. I see bags just going through every so often. You'll see a group of doctors in a room, then they pull the curtains, and it was like every day. This was every day it was happening. So I'm talking to somebody, and she was a tech, and I said, listen, how bad am I? And she honestly told me, she says, well, you're in the worst condition that we've seen.
Wow.
I says, what? He says, your oxygen levels were so low, we don't know how you made it in. So at that point, I'm worried, of course. And I got myself together and said, if this is the end, I'm gonna try to do it the best way I can. Call my family and, have my last goodbyes, telling them that I love them, make sure I let everybody know exactly how I felt about them. And one day, it just happened. They said, we got to put you on the ventilator today. I said, well, no, I don't want it, because I was feeling fine. He said, well, Mr. Wescott, we can't make you do anything. You got about 15 minutes to live. And when you hear something like that, that's a gut punch. 15 minutes. Wow. You know what I mean? That's not even a half in a college game. You know what I mean? So 15 minutes, I got to try to live my life. Just go over my life in 15 minutes. And that was it. They had this big monitor. They brought my wife in front of me. And I said goodbye, and that was it. And I was expecting that to be the last time I ever see her again.
What exactly, take us to that moment, like what exactly is your feelings and emotions, like what's going through your head at that time?
Of course, you want more. You want more time. Like you asking God for minutes. You know what I mean? Just give me one more day. You know what I mean? You trying to get anything because it's a scary time. Because you don't know what to expect. Regardless what anybody says, when that time comes up, you don't know what to expect. Is it going to hurt? How is this process going to go? And luckily, they never told me that they were putting me to sleep. So I was actually talking to my wife and with the monitor, and I just fell asleep.
Now, how are your family taking this, especially during that time they wasn't allowing people in with the patients, and now your family on this other screen, on the side of the screen, and you're saying goodbye to them? How were they like? What were their reactions?
I mean, it was tough. It was tough, and I actually dissected that as I was recovering, because that was part of my recovery, to understand what everybody was going through. And it was tough, especially for my wife, because like I said, 14 days in, they called her in and told her to say her goodbyes to me, because I wasn't going to make it throughout the night. And she came, she did whatever. And, and I made it through the night, but I got worse. The second night, my daughter that actually I caught the COVID from, she came in and spoke life to me. And I woke up. It was January, but I was up.
How long ago was the time that you went to sleep and the time you woke up?
November the 18th. No, November the November. See, my wife keeps all these exact days. Let's say November the 20th to January 13th.
Wow. So you was sleep over like 50 days?
Yeah.
And then you wake up. How did you wake up? And what's the first thing you noticed when you got up?
I just woke up. I just woke. I thought I didn't know what was going on, so I thought I just fell asleep for the night. So I'm looking around and I'm surprised to wake up. Now, it's one thing, you know how sometimes you run into people, you say, well, I'm just glad to have woken up today. Yo, it's a different feeling when you're really surprised to wake up. And I just cried.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because you got to kind of think about that concept. You know what I mean? Of dying and having another chance, waking up. So I was happy. I was confused, very confused. But I started looking around, and the doctors came in and was asking me questions. I didn't have a clue what was going on. And I remember the doctor saying, I says, did the Eagles win? And they said, well, they're not playing this weekend. So I says, how did Carson do? He says, Carson's not the quarterback anymore.
Wow.
I says, well, who's the quarterback? I said, Jalen Hurts. I was like, Jalen Hurts? He should be the, quarterback. The game didn't even start yet. So, because they wouldn't tell me that I was in a coma.
Wow.
They didn't want, because they thought I had brain damage because I was going so long without oxygen. So, one of the things, I was laying there, and you know how your nose itches, and what you do is you just scratch it. So my nose was itching, and I couldn't move my hand. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? So I started just looking at trying to move parts of my body, and I couldn't. And I didn't know something was in, because when you're laying down, you don't see what's going on. I had a hole in my throat, so I couldn't talk either. So I'm trying to mouth stuff, but nothing's coming out.
Wow.
And they didn't know I was up at that time. And a nurse walked by, and I'm crying because I'm like laying there for 2 hours and can't get anybody.
Wow.
And she was like, oh, he's up, and da-da-da, asking me all kinds of different questions and stuff like that. But that was a time right there.
So you wake up after 50 days and realize that you paralyzed at the moment.
Right.
And what's your next train of thought in terms of what gave you the fortitude to say, I got to get better?
Well, initially, I didn't want to. I said I couldn't live like that. I can't live like that. Like, they may have thought that I was getting better, but you feel like this is what you're going to be for the rest of your life.
Wow.
And that reality is tough. It's tough. And I'm not thinking of anything but ending it, because I'm figuring I'm gonna be, quadriplegic for the rest of my life. Do I really want that? But I didn't have enough strength to kill myself. I couldn't, if I really wanted to, I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So I'm laying, what that does for you is it gives you time to think. And you think about yourself. And this is where basketball, the principles of basketball came into my life. Like I told you about the time of the 100 people in the gym, you fighting for a spot. So that gives you a competitive feel. And you start thinking of competing. Now I'm competing in a different way now, because I'm just competing to move, to see something better. And I thought about, I was always a Jay Wright fan. So Jay used to always talk about getting better each day. You know what I mean? Don't worry about, a year from now what you're going to be. just show improvement every day. And if you put enough days together, then you'll come to the place where you supposed to be. So one day I was just trying to move my fingers. And I was just trying and trying. And one day I moved them. And that feeling was just so good, that I accomplished something that we take for granted. You know what I mean? If like you nod your head just now, your brain told you to nod. That's what happened. You nod. But when you can't do it, it's a feeling that I would not wish on anyone. But I started putting days together. You know what I mean? Just putting them together, just feeling as though I'm doing something every day. I remember the day I used to have prayer calls twice a day. And I surprised my family one day. I put my finger up to my mouth. And that was a huge accomplishment for me. And like I said, it just kept going on. And that was what I was setting out to do every day. Just something. All right, can I move my head a little? Can I move my shoulders, my right arm? And things started coming back and encouraged me every day to get better at something. So that was my driving force.
Now take me to the moment when you finally stood up.
Wow, that was
Take your time, bro. Take your time.
Yeah, what happened was I was in my second hospital. And every day I would sneak because they wouldn't let you out the rooms. And I would lower the bed real low to kind of put my feet off the bed because they wouldn't let me try to stand up. And I would put my feet on the ground and lift the bed up. It was an automatic bed. So I started doing that. It took like a week. And I started feeling my legs. And I called my my wife and my children. And I told them I got a surprise for you. So I took a walker, got up, and I started walking, man. It was one of the greatest feelings, greatest feelings of ever in my life.
Wow, brother.
And I took maybe 5 steps, something like that, and got back down. But everybody, it was tears of joy, and I just felt as though I accomplished so much. And it was, I was just thanking God, man, that give me the strength, put me in the position to have that, that mental fortitude to just keep working. Because it was hard. You know what I mean? It was hard. But I always tell my wife I was built for this. You know what I mean? I was groomed for this. And like I was always an overachiever, overcomer. You know what I mean? Well, I played behind one of the best guards in West Philly history, but I always wanted to get something out of it. You know what I mean? I always was looking for the silver lining of what exactly I'm doing. And I'm going to compete, and I never stopped competing for different positions that I got. And that was just one of the many things that I had to really dig down and achieve. And it was very gratifying.
So now you went to rehab. I saw the videos. You was going to therapy and things of that nature. When did it click that this can inspire other people? People need to see this.
When I got out, I was in there for about 6 months. When I got out, they told me that the news station, Fox, was going to be there. They were going to film me getting out. And my biggest concern was what I was going to say. I was scared because one of my biggest fears was speaking publicly. So I'm nervous about, what I'm going to say. But I get there and I realize all the things that I missed, like smelling the grass and feeling the sunshine and, just being outside of doors and, walking past. I was in a walker, but I'm walking past people. And those things were overwhelming for me. And it was on TV, and so many people have responded to me and telling me how they were inspired. I'm going to tell you what was some of the best moments. On Facebook, I would listen to what people were saying as they were looking at the telecast.
Wow.
And that took me back. Because they're telling their true thoughts. And I would I always tell people, I say I was blessed because in a sense I went to my funeral because of the things that people were really pouring out, especially the time that they thought that I was going to die. So they were saying, we praise, especially in the Black communities, we praise ourselves the most highest point as we're dying. You know what I mean? So they let those emotions out, but I actually ended up leaving with everybody else. They had a little parade for me as I came back, and the beautiful things that people were sending me and saying to me was unbelievable. And I wish everybody could experience that once. You know what I mean? And I felt as though I was blessed to actually be in that position.
Wow, that's a great way to prove it, because a lot of times they say, men, especially our men, a lot of us don't get appreciated until we're gone.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
And
So
I
you
felt that appreciation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People were saying real stuff to me. I looked on my phone because I never looked at my phone while I was in the hospital. And the messages that I had and how people were pouring out their feelings, and it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. So from that point, I just started. Now I started talking on social media. I started with Facebook.
Okay.
And I was often getting somebody that reached out to me that was going through something. And they would say, how it inspired them, to try to work harder, because there's a lot of people that's going through something. You know what I mean? And think that they have no hope. Which some expressed to me that they felt as though they had a little hope if I had hope. You know what I mean? So, which led me to speak more and more and more. And I started going to churches. I started going to recreation centers, just telling people of my experience and how you can keep going. How you can find that resilience, that that energy within to be better.
Indeed, I could definitely relate to that, because I remember the moment when I found my purpose when I was in rehab the second time, and I had did the 12 steps, and I had my spiritual awakening, and all I wanted to do was serve God. But I got on my knees and I asked God, why did he allow me to go through all of the stuff that I went through? You know what I mean? Why did he allow my wife to be murdered? Why did he allow me to find her? Why did he allow me to be the suspect and then get addicted to alcohol? So the first time I really told my story was the last day of rehab, and there was 150 people in the room, and it was the first time I told my whole story, and everybody froze, and it was like they was looking through me, and that's when it hit me like none of that stuff ain't have nothing to do with me. He allowed me to get through it. He took me through it so I could go out and tell my story and work for him.
Right.
And on that day, my life changed. And so when you saying this, I understand exactly that those feelings when you were going to talk in those places, and that spirit is going through you because you know this is not about you no more.
Right. Exactly. So I got joy out of it, and I felt as though I was doing some good. So I just continued to just speak about it and be honest with you to help me. It gave me motivation because it makes you accountable to somebody. You know what I mean? And like days, I mean, I feel like I tell people, I feel pain every day I wake up. Every day I wake up, there's a challenge. And part of the thing that makes me get up is I know I'm accountable because I know people are looking at me.
Wow.
I know people are looking at me to be strong. You know what I mean? In the face of adversity.
What a blessing.
And everybody's not in that position. So you ask yourself, what do you do with it? You know what I mean? And I wanted to do some good. You know, because I just didn't want it just to happen to me. You know what I mean? And I'm going down as the guy that had COVID. That almost died from COVID. You know what I mean? So as far as those things goes, it's been a beautiful experience, man. It's changed me forever. You know, I look at life and people in general totally different. And I feel as though I'm blessed to have the foresight to actually see the world like this.
Then you took the situation you went through and you turned it into something positive, and you developed a movement called COVID Conquerors. Talk to us about COVID Conquerors and let us know what it's all about.
Well, COVID V Conquerors was a group that I actually started in the hospital.
Wow.
Because a lot of people were going through similar things that I was going through for different reasons. People, young guys, gunshots, and you know, they're paralyzed. So we would actually meet in the gym every day. So again, we're back to the gym. We would meet in the gym every day, and I felt compelled to outwork everybody because I felt as though people were looking at me. So one of the nurses was like, listen, could you talk to a patient? I said, yeah. I said, no problem. And from that, I started, you know, she was always asking me, listen, we got a patient that's a little down. Can you talk to him? Da-da-da. And that while I was in the hospital, I felt that was my purpose. You know what I mean? People were seeing me and seeing what I'm doing in the face of what I'm facing, and still the positive attitude and me just working and working and working. And what they said was it inspired people to really try to max out what they were doing in those particular days. And I felt as though that was a special position that God put me in.
Wow. This during this time of the podcast, we always do our 5 cards. This one I pull out the 5 cards up. And you tell me the first thing that come to your mind when you see the people that's on these cards. So let's start off with somebody you're very familiar with.
It's my man. Yo, one of the best friends that anybody could ever have.
Wow.
Oh, he is.
Wow.
Yo, and everybody in Philly knew him. He was a dog. I mean, a dog. When we like middle school, I tell people his stats and stuff like that. Yo, they think I'm lying. I mean, like I seen triple doubles every day. I mean, every time he got on the court, they used to call him EJ.
Wow.
And he would have 35, 22, 16. You know, this was every day. Wow. But he and I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better friend. And he's taught me so much since he's been gone. You know. And he dropped. Now I don't have sons. But his kids are the closest thing I'll ever get to sons. And we had special relationships. And honestly, if he was here, I would have never had that relationship with him. You know what I mean? So I really cherish his wife for just giving me the opportunity to be what I wanted to be to those young men. And I just consider myself blessed every day I look at him.
Wow. Next up, the moment. The kids with Kobe Bryant.
But that was a great day. That was a great day. We had a ball. And of course, you know, it was Kobe. You know what I mean? And I tell you, every time I see Kobe, I tell you a little story about me and Kobe. I walked into the gym one day, and his father, Jelly Bean, walks up to me and was like, "Listen, this is going to be the best day of your life." I was like, "What?" He says, "I'm gonna let you coach my son." So he was actually on an 11th grade team that played in the college league that I was in.
Wow.
So I'm like, yeah, he let me they had Malik Rose and a bunch of other guys. So I'm like, yeah, he gonna let me get smashed, right? So we go. And Kobe, honestly, Kobe was a true professional, man. He was a true professional.
Wow.
And I just said, listen, Kobe, this is all I want you to do. Just pass the ball, and the last 2 to 3 minutes is all yours. Now, we did have Michael Jordan on the team. Remember Michael Jordan?
Yeah, from Penn.
You know, we had a couple of players. But these was college players.
Yeah.
You know, but we was in the game, all game, and it came down to the end. And Kobe was like, it was a little bit before that time. He says, "Is it time yet?" I says, "Go ahead." I said, "Go ahead, man." And after the game, we actually won. So after the game, I went up to Jelly Bean and says, "Yo, he's a Hall of Famer."
Wow.
I says, yo, thank you for letting me see what greatness looks like.
Wow.
Yo, it was unbelievable. And you got to think, I was playing with Aaron McKee, which was a pro. And I saw Eddie Jones all the time, worked out and all that stuff. And I said and it got me in trouble too for telling the truth. I said, Kobe is going to play in a different NBA than they are. I says, yo, and people killed me over that. I says, I'm going to tell you, Kobe's going to play in a different NBA.
All right. Next up, the hospital.
That day now, you can see my eyes are open, but I don't remember. I remember very little about that day. Very, very little. I remember seeing faces like blips. I saw my aunt that kind of got me emotional. And I remember when they put me in the ambulance, I was really confused because I thought I was leaving from home. So I was like, why are they going this way? You know what I mean? And that was, like I said, that wasn't even clear. You know, I actually look at that video a lot. Just looking at my emotions and because I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, hold on. I went too far. I went too fast. My bad. Go ahead.
You know. But yeah, it was I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts about that because I don't remember anything about it. Anything. That
Wow.
to me is a picture.
Wow. Okay.
That was the day.
Wow. Take us
That was
there.
the day. I'm gonna tell you the story behind it. Um, we were talking in my room. This was the second hospital I was at, and I was asking them, "You think I'm gonna be able to walk again?" And it was like, "Well, we really don't know. This is something new." I says, "Listen," I said, "in a year's time, I'm going to walk up the Rocky Steps."
Mm.
And I says, "That's my goal, was to walk up the Rocky Steps." So every day from that point on, I was concentrating on just getting up those Rocky Steps. I didn't know how, but that was a great moment, because I mean, I was thinking about that for a year, a lot of long days. What people don't understand is day to day what you go through, especially when you're by yourself. Now, it wasn't like a whole lot of people were visiting me and stuff like that. It was days by yourself, and you're just thinking, you know, thinking, all right, where's my life going to go? How far? Because you don't know if you're even going to be able to do that. So me accomplishing that was, it was a great feat. And I had so many, friends and families, people from all over were coming to support me in this. And like I said, it was another instinct of me, having a gathering and them pouring into me and me leaving with everybody else. So that was another moment that I was truly blessed to feel the love that that they were giving me that day. It was unbelievable.
All right. Now the final home team.
That's my glue right there. That's my glue.
Mm.
And a lot of things, like my wife, um, how much she had to sacrifice and go through for me. Um, I mean, I tell people, like, I didn't want to come home earlier. They could have let me out, say, 2 weeks earlier, and I refused because I couldn't even go to the bathroom yet by myself. I just didn't want to put that on my wife. You know what I mean? She had to lift me up. She had to feed me. She had to pray for me. She was doing basically everything for me. And my girls were the support team. You know what I mean? If she wasn't there with me, they were sitting with me. I'm in my lower level of my house right now. And I was here for like 6 months in the bed. So somebody always had to be around, and they made those sacrifices, and those sacrifices were very needed for me to be exactly where I am today. So yeah, that means a lot. That means a lot. Now the one on the right is the one that I was worried about, because she was the one that got me sick. And so she had to carry that. So that was a little extra for us, for me to, to get through that. And it is that's a beautiful shot right there, man. And the symbol of overcoming with Rocky, because I definitely felt as though I overcame that day.
Praise the Most High, man. Praise the Most High on that.
Yeah, that was a
Praise
beautiful
the
day.
Most High, man.
Beautiful.
Now, you talked about your family and gave them their thanks. Is it any other people out there that you feel were integral in your recovery? You know what I mean, helping you get through this and your recovery, and you doing the COVID conquerors. Is any other people you want to give special thanks to?
Man, I got so many people. I didn't want to leave anybody else, but anybody out. But let's go with a few names. My sister-in-law. My sister-in-law was a great influence of me getting day to day.
Okay.
But she came and prayed. She organized prayer groups in the morning and in the night. Never missed a day. So I definitely want to thank her, because those times I was looking forward to them. You know what I mean? Because I just wanted to, just be around people. They wasn't in the room, but I just wanted to talk to people. My little sister Ebony, she was a trooper for me. My in-laws, I tell you, my mother-in-law is a pistol, right? But I'm gonna tell you a lot of people don't know. I hope a lot of people on her side is looking at this. She used to come. They couldn't come in my room, right? So they had to speak to me in the big window. She used to come all the time at the window and bring me food and talk to me, just to pass the time. I'm getting undressed. The nurse is undressing me one day. My mother-in-law on the back, So a lot of people don't even know that she would actually go to that extent, but she did it for me. And of course, my aunts. I have a special family out of Virginia. They were really supportive. My friends, Walt, I got a friend that I used to talk to, Bruiser. Bruiser was very supportive of me. Walt, Wayne, Roscoe. I had so much love, man. And if I forgot anybody, please just accept my apologies. But like I said, so many people showed me so much love. It was overwhelming at times.
Indeed. And you talked a lot about the prayer groups and the different groups that people put together to actually pray for you. How has this experience changed your relationship with God?
I had a special moment. This was in the beginning when I was facing what I thought death was. I had a phone call from my family is from Eastville, Virginia. The pastor, which is a good friend of mine, he's a better friend to my grandfather because he was a deacon at the church. And he called me. And I wasn't accepting any calls at that time because I just wanted to get myself together on where I thought I was going. And he called me, and we talked about God and how he receives me. And because I had I always had different views, you know what I mean? And he kind of put things in perspective for me. Like, I was always worried about how I spoke to God. You had to do it a certain way. And he actually just made me comfortable with what I had to say and what I wanted to express and what I wanted to get out of our exchange at that moment. And the promises and stuff that I made to God, I wanted to be able to I ain't just want to do it because I was in that situation. I just wanted to have a conversation. And he actually gave me a lot of confidence in what I was doing. And I really appreciated that. And I knew he was the only one that could actually do that for me. You know what I mean? And he gave me a lot of clarity on what I was thinking in terms of religion and God and stuff like that. He gave me a lot of clarity, and I'm forever thankful for that. Forever. Because that made my next 2 days a lot better. I could move on at that point. So yeah, that was a special moment. And I have a real good friend, Rudy Yule, that pours into me all the time. He just became a minister, and his wife, Yana. And man, like I said, this experience is I've grown a lot You know, I've grown a lot
Indeed.
spiritually, mentally, physically. You know, like I was telling you, I'm doing things physically that I couldn't do when I was walking. I mean, when
Mm,
before, let's say before all this happened, I'm
mm,
actually running the Broad Street Run,
mm,
which is 10 miles, right? I have never run more than 2 miles in my life.
mm. Praise the Most
But
High.
yeah, I wanted to do that just to let people know that you can overcome. A lot of it is mental, and that's the one thing I learned. A lot of it is mental, and if you put your mind to it, you can do anything, anything.
Mm.
And yeah, that's all.
Um, how do you want Rob Wescott to be remembered?
That's a good question. Um, I want to be remembered first and foremost as a great father, you know, and I'm still working on being the best father I possibly could be. A great friend, you know, and that's a work in progress. Um, in that, I was a fair guy, somewhat honest guy, because I had my days. You know, I had some stuff with me.
I know, I know.
Yeah, yeah, I had some stuff with me. But I was um I was always trying to do the right thing. Now it may not have came out to be the right thing, but that's where my heart was.
Man, Rod, I want to thank you because I started this podcast because I wanted to give guys their flowers that put in a lot of time with youth basketball, and especially people that we ran across each other doing. And you, this is my first person I think I had on that was pre-basketball spotlight. So we,
Mm-hmm.
we connected during my Metro Hoop days. You know what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
had just got tired of seeing people like somebody like Paul that once his picture got put up, Paul Gripper, then everybody want to talk about what he meant. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? And then him never getting a chance to sit down and tell his story on how he connected all the dots in his life. So me sitting here talking to you, man, I just want to give you your flowers, man. Not only did you pour into some kids from Philadelphia that came from humbling beginnings, but now you're taking this thing to a whole nother level and inspiring people all around the world, brother.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
be surprised who is logging on to your social media and who you inspired to get out the bed and really believe that they could live that next day. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Because I think about that. I remember contemplating suicide back in 2000, around 2009, and when I was going through that situation. And now I think back now, like, I wouldn't be doing this now. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be working for God now and going out trying to help save lives. So I want to give you your flowers now, man, and let you know, man, you're a legend in this thing. You know what I'm saying? Especially for what you're doing right now. It's not that many people that will get through, let God help them get through what you got through, and then say, I got to do more. I
Mm-hmm.
got to do more. That's legendary, brother. So,
But you know what? I
mm-hmm,
believe that everything that happened to me, our encounter, what we went through in basketball, the
mm-hmm,
things that I went through at West Philly, all those things brought me to this moment. You know, I wouldn't have been the
mm-hmm,
person that I was
mm-hmm,
without those moments. And I must say, I must mention somebody that is essential to everything that has happened to me, and everybody that grew up with me noticed was my father, John Wescott.
mm-hmm,
He instilled so many things that I never understood. That strength and um, like I remember I put a picture up of my father, and they said somebody left a comment saying, "Yo, people are surprised that you made it, Rob, but they didn't know your father."
mm-hmm,
And I said, they're absolutely right, because my father was so consistent at what he did. He was a man every day.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he had a big heart. And his principles and disciplines were that played big in everything I went through and how I responded to it. And I am truly thankful for God putting him in my life, because I know I wouldn't be, who I am today without him.
Mm.
I mean, he was
Praise the Most High,
he,
brother.
he
Praise the Most
was
High.
unbelievable for me. And I just wanted to say that. And I wanted to say, I'm glad you had mentioned it, because we can't have a segment like this without mentioning Paul Gripper, man.
I know, man. I know, man. I know.
I
I know. I did. He was my dedication on one of the other shows I did, man.
wish, and I saw that. I said, I wish he could have dedicated Paul for this one. I was going to mention it in the beginning, but I said no. I said I got to mention Paul Gripper, man.
Yeah, man.
Because our last event that we did together, Paul actually brought me in. Remember, I coached the team that last Philly versus New Jersey. Yeah, I coached the team for him. So that was the last time I saw you.
Wow, praise
Yeah,
the Most
Paul's
High,
the one that pulled me into that.
Yeah, man. Praise the Most High for Paul to his time here, man. And thank you for coming on again, brother. As soon as the show over, I'm gonna send you a copy of the interview, and then by tomorrow, I'm gonna have all the highlights done, and then I'll kick them out to you, and you can start posting them, and we'll go from there, man. But I want to thank you, and I know some people out there heard your story tonight, and it's gonna inspire a lot of people, man. I want you to keep on pushing, doing what you're doing, and always make sure you put God first, and we're gonna get it done out here, brother. I want to thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me on, man. And anything you need, just call me, man.
All right, good brother,
But I
man.
do want to mention, just support me on that thing going out Broad Street, May the 4th. I think it's
No
May the
doubt.
4th. That's going to be an unbelievable day also.
All right, man. Praise the Most High, brother. Take care.
All right. Talk to you.
All right. Wow. What a story, man. And I hope some viewers out there really got something from it. That's a long road, and you never know what the Most High have you out there for and how we going to use you. You know what I'm saying? And I know he woke up that day and he was sick like that. He never thought that it would lead to all of this. That's why through his grace and mercy, we got to keep pushing through, man. I want to thank Rob for coming on. Tune in tomorrow night for the Sober Heads podcast. We have a speaker coming on to share his experience, strength, and hope. And Most High willing, I'll see you guys next week for another episode of In the Spotlight. And take care tonight and enjoy yourself. Shalom.